Now let's look at note number 25. We'll read it. The title is To Solve Equations by Factoring. Step 1, get everything on one side, the other side 0. Step 2, factor the non-zero side. Step 3, set the factors equal to 0. And step 4, solve the little equations. Let's do a quick example of solving an equation by factoring. Solve by factoring. And the equation is 2x to the second power minus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Solution. Well, the note says get everything on one side and the other side 0. So step 1's already finished. Step 2, factor the non-zero side. This is a kind of complicated problem. You can compare this to the standard form of a second degree equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And with that comparison, you see that the a coefficient is equal to 2, the b is equal to negative 5, and the c is equal to 2. Now you could always factor this by guessing, but there's another method that I teach my students in the elementary classes. It's the diamond method, where we make a big X, and on the top we write A times C, on the bottom we write B. We put boxes on each of the sides. Then we put a plus on the top. No, I'm sorry, we put multiplication on the top and plus on the bottom. And you can imagine this as a diamond. You don't have to do this method. You can just guess or use a method that you know from your previous work. Well, in this example, what that means is we're searching for two values to put in these boxes. Now, the product of these values in the boxes, it has to equal A times C. And A times C for this problem is 2 times 2, which is 4. And then the sum of these two values in the boxes have to equal the b value, which we found to be equal to negative 5. So you ask yourself, what values are there that when you multiply the two together you get 4, and when you add them together you get a negative 5? And the answer would be negative 1 and negative 4. So to multiply together to get a 4, add together to get a negative 5, those two numbers have to be negative 1 and negative 4. So the little diamond is just a little trick to help us find these two values. But what do we do with it after we find it? We're in the process of factoring the left side here. We'll write the 2x squared, exclude the negative 5x, write the plus 2, the equal sign, the 0, and where you had the negative 5x, replace it with the negative 1x, so it's negative x, and negative 4x, where the coefficients, negative 1 and negative 4, come from the boxes in the diamond. Okay, now we'll just go ahead and factor by grouping. Out of the first group, the first two terms, we're able to factor out a common factor of x, and it leaves 2x minus 1. And out of the second group, the second two terms, we have a common factor of either 2 or negative 2. And if we pull out the negative 2, I think that's going to give us what we want. Negative 2 times what value gives you negative 4x? 2x. Negative 2 times what value gives you a positive 2? Negative 1. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the 0. And you see now we have a big common factor in the parentheses that factors out 2x minus 1 times what remains when we strip it away from the first piece. It leaves an x. And what remains when we strip that parenthesis away from the second piece? It leaves a -2. Bring down your equal sign, bring down your 0. So now we have factored the left-hand side. Back to note 25, set the factors equal to 0 and solve. All right, we've got 2x minus 1 equals 0, or x minus 2 equals 0. Solve each of these little equations. That's step 4. Here we get 2x equals 1, which means x equals a positive 1/2, or here we have x equals 2. So our final answer, if we write it in set notation, just list them in the set notation in any order: x equals 1/2, x equals 2.